This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Power of Attorney. I am your host, LeTonya Moore. I am super excited to have with me today Ms. Allison Williams. She is the law firm mentor. Allison, she actually works with solo and small firms. She's a business coach, and she helps them grow revenues, crush chaos in business, and make more money. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? I know I would. So you can actually visit her website. It's www.lawfirmmentor.com. So Allison, welcome to Power of Attorney.
Hi, LeTonya. Thank you so much for having me on. And I just want to make one little correction. It's lawfirmmentor.net.
I'm sorry, lawfirmmentor.net. And you gave that to me, but yet I still said .com. I had .com written down before, and then you gave me .net, so I apologize.
That is absolutely okay. You know, we all are creatures of habit, so .coms are much more common than .nets, but I am unique, so I'm a .net. That's how you find us.
Fabulous. So before we jump right into how you help businesses grow revenues and crush chaos, could you share with our audience, what was it that made you get into this law firm mentor space?
Sure. So I have been a practicing attorney, a family law attorney for 16 years. And in 2013, a decade into my career, I decided that I was going to start a law firm and started my firm and was immediately overwhelmed. Had a near-death experience when I fell asleep after the 7th or 8th 90-hour work week and realized that I was either going to have to get rid of this law firm before it killed me or I was going to have to get control of it. So I chose the latter. And in getting control of my law firm, I started working with business coaches, both those that work on the technical stuff as well as those that work on the mindset. And ultimately, through finding a series of professionals to help me, I was able to grow my law firm revenues 856% in 4 years.
Wow. Wait. 856% in 4 years.
Yep. First calendar year in business, I made a couple $100,000, and last year we were well on our way to $3 million. So
wow.
I know what it is. I know what
amazing.
It is to make money in business, and I know what it is to struggle as well as to thrive. And so I was able to kind of piece together all the nuggets of information that I got. And what was most important for me was really how you evolve your thinking about things. That's really what helps you scale as opposed to just grow. And it's a hard concept to convey to people because until you start working with a coach, you think you're just going to get data dumps of here's how you market and here's how you sell and here's how you hire. But coaching is really so much more than that. So if you work with a real coach, they're going to be able to pull out of you much more than they give to you. It's all within you, and we help you to optimize that. So that became a love of mine when I started to really understand the coaching industry, and through the love of it, I studied it, and here I am.
I absolutely love this concept, and I knew that when I saw what you were doing, of course, in the marketplace, I said I have to interview her because I know for myself, being a small firm, a small practitioner that operates with a lot of different industries, I've been that person that you described that has worked for, a larger corporate entity. Like I was a government attorney. And like you, about, 10 years in, it was like, okay, I think it's time to, go to that next level. And again, getting to that point, even then of saying, okay, wait a minute, I got to work smarter. So everything that you described, like I totally understand. And I've been there. And so when I saw what you were doing, I was saying, wow, this is fabulous because how many small firms, whether you're a lawyer or accountant, these principles I'm sure can be applied really to any practitioner that provides professional services like we do. So tell us a little bit about what's some important first steps, because you went through a lot, you learned a lot, but what are some important first steps that these small practitioners can make in saying, okay, or what's that thing that made you say, I have to find a coach?
So the people that I work with are usually lawyers that already have a business, meaning they're not just hanging a shingle for the first time. I do have a lot of friends in the industry that help people kind of launch their law firm. But once you have your business, whether it's making a little or enough and you're just not happy with what it is, what I really start to work with people on is kind of conceptualizing who you want to be in the marketplace. Because as a solo or small law firm attorney, the way that we often struggle is that we compare ourselves to the large firm and we say, well, I'm not the large firm. I don't have 30 years of experience. I don't have 500 lawyers to help me. It's just me. And there comes somewhat of a sense of inadequacy in that. So we first help people to overcome that and recognize that there's something authentically unique and special about each of us. And what people are really hiring when they buy your service is not your dollars, your degrees, your certifications, your X number of trials won, because they don't really understand what it means to win a trial. I mean, the fact that a judge could very much hear the facts, hear the law, and say, screw it, I'm going to do something different is a realism, right? And how much you connect with the judge may be just as much a determinant as how qualified and capable a trial attorney you are. And so what the marketplace really buys, the same way that all of us as humans buy, is we really connect on our emotional plane, and then we rationalize on our intellectual plane. So in order to get a person connected to you on that emotional plane, they have to connect with who you are. And whether you know it or not, you may be relying on your dollars and degrees, but really what people are buying is you. So we help people to kind of identify who they are, and then we help them identify who they want to work with. So one of the things that I'm a big proponent of is having your ideal client avatar. That is not just coach speak or business consultant speak. You really need to know, do you want to work with men or women? Do you want to work with entrepreneurs or large business or small business? Do you want people that are in your immediate region or further out? And then who is the kind of person that really would consume your service from a more granular psychological standpoint, i.e. psychographics, right? So are these people, the kind of people that are conservative versus moderate versus liberal? Are they the kind of people that are politically active or not? Are they religious or not? Are they, engaged in hobbies? Are they very family oriented? Or are they the kind of people that are much more, self and individualized people? And, there's no right or wrong to this. There's no judgment associated with it. But knowing who that person is allows you to craft a message for them that connects with them. And when a person hears you speak their language, even if what you're saying from a legal standpoint is completely wrong, right? They're not going to care about it. They're going to be like, okay, this is a person that gets me. This is my kind of people. And that my kind of people feeling is what resonates in a person and gives them the energetic sense that you are the right one to help them.
I love it, because one of the things that I've noticed and I've had people tell me is, you're not like other attorneys who I've spoken with. And so at first I was like, well, I'm not gonna lie, like I had those feelings of inadequacy, right? Like, does that mean I'm stupid? Like, what does that mean? And eventually I did ask, I said, well, I hear that all the time. Like, but tell me what that means to you. And it was exactly what you said. I feel like you care about my business, or I feel like you care about my situation versus just time's up, time to go, even though, time really was up. So I get that. I know that I've had that experience. So, okay. So they get their avatar, they learn from you how to speak their language if they're not already doing it, how to connect with their avatar. And at that point, then what? And let me tell you why I asked that question, because what I've also seen, and I've also talked to some of my colleagues who have been struggling, and I was like, you are doing way too much, right? Like you are just really doing way too much. And so at that point, they have their avatar. Is the next step to really clearly define and look at the service offerings that they're having, or what is your recommended next step?
So a lot of people start their law firm with door law, right? Whatever walks in the door, that's who I serve, right? Or whoever has a check, I've got a service to sell them. And I'm very much opposed to that. I tell people, as scary as it is, building a niche and really staying in your niche is going to give you a lot more traction, and it's going to get you a lot more clients sooner. And I know that sounds off to a lot of people. So let me explain. So I'm a family law attorney. And so I help people with lots of different family law issues: custody, divorce, child abuse and neglect, domestic violence. But if we're talking about a divorce, you have a husband and a wife, traditionally. Sometimes you have same-sex couples, but let's just go with husband and wife for ease of reference. So if you have a husband and a wife, one might argue, well, if I just focus on wives or if I just focus on husbands, I'm cutting out half the marketplace. But the distinction there is that when you just become the husband's attorney or the father's attorney, that message is going to resound not only with the husband, but also with wives who want to be pro-father. So you're going to be able to create a message that is going to be very crystal, very clear. And the people who are over here in this niche are going to want you more because you're going to be the inevitable choice. So of all the husbands that are out there, you cannot serve them all, just like you cannot serve all the wives. So when you feel like you're cutting off half your marketplace, all that you're doing is making a smaller pond for you to fish in. So when you're in that smaller pond, you get more traction off of that. So we really help people to figure out what their niche should be. And I'll give you an example of how profound this is. I learned this really through my own intuitive sense. I will be candid. I knew nothing about marketing, nothing about business when I was an associate attorney. But as an associate attorney, I loved family law. And one day I encountered a case involving a woman accused of child abuse. And the way that the system treated her really bothered me. So I had to kind of go in there with guns blazing, even though she had some pretty bad facts on her side. And I couldn't find anyone to help me. And so I had to do a lot of research, a lot of legwork, and I got in there. And I started to love those cases. I started to love how I was helping people, and I started to see that I was making a much bigger difference than even in divorce world, where you can definitely make a big difference. So it became my passion. But everybody told me, you're not going to make money doing that, right? Dependency cases, 98% of those cases in our state are handled by the public defender's office. So there's only 2% of the people left. And I was like, well, who's servicing that 2%, right? The people servicing that 2% are well-intentioned family law attorneys that don't know what they're doing. Because they're not in that court every day. They're not in that world, and it's a very different world. And so I said, well, I don't know that there's enough work, but I'm just gonna, hedge my bets and throw it out there. And next thing you know, child abuse and neglect became a multi-million-dollar enterprise. That's what I'm known for throughout the state. I lecture on it. I teach judges. I teach lawyers. I'm in the community teaching it. I've been on national TV. I've been on Katie Couric, all about child abuse and neglect. So clearly there was a need for it. The feeling that I had that there was a need for it was not something that I fabricated. The very fact that I had a desire, the means and ways for us to get there were there. And I didn't realize that at the time. I learned that actually from one of my favorite books, Working with the Law with Raymond Hollywell, which is all about universal law. But this whole idea that if you have a desire for something, the way to get there is there. But you have to step in faith to know that. And I think what stops us a lot of times is that we go with traditional knowledge and traditional wisdom, and we say, well, I should be doing something that there's a lot of people interested in so that I can really get out there and there's a market for it. But many times it's that very small granular piece that you're not necessarily seeing in the marketplace that there is a need for that you could offer that can give you a lot more traction. So the second thing beyond niching is really expanding your niche, right? So you have to get very small to start, and then you have to start making pathways for additional revenue from the things that you've created. So when I started with child abuse and neglect, I represent people in court. And then when I felt that there wasn't enough of that work, or I felt other people coming into that space, I started representing people in agencies. And when I started to hear that people were advertising to do agency work, I started going to the appellate division. And then once I saw that there were people doing it in the appellate division, I started advertising myself as the child abuse expert, not using that word. No worries, court. I'm not using that word. But the child abuse attorney in divorce world. So I was like, there's an endless array of divorce. I'll just be the liaison that gets you your child abuse issues addressed in divorce world. So I started to expand my marketplace from a very, very small, very, very strategically placed niche. So you can take your niche and then you can expand it so that you become the expert on that topic, and that topic can then go in different places. And that's really how you take something very small that has very little potential that you can see, create the potential because the potential is really there, and then expand it into different markets so you can get a lot more money.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And first of all, thank you for sharing, because I think that most of the time, and a lot of the information out there is a little bit erroneous. If people really feel like if they utilize, I'm from the South, so, buckshots, right? Versus sniper shots, and not being, laser focused, they really feel like, well, something's going to hit and I'm going to make a lot of money. But the other thing too is, you know, certainly for those of us that understand, you know, our passion, our purpose is in us. We carry it around every day. It's that thing, you know, like you were mentioning, that you're like,